The morning the whole thing started, I was standing on my front porch with a mug of coffee and a court-stamped envelope in my hand. And it felt ordinary enough: birds in the eaves, the sprinklers hissing, the neighbor across the street walking his dog like nothing was about to erupt into a Law and Order drama. And then Linda Carr showed up at the fence with that look, the kind that says she's already decided the score. You need to know I'm not one for drama. I like my mower neat, my taxes paid, my Saturday barbecues on time. The house on Willow Ridge had been in my family for a generation. My father hung the porch light the year I was born, and that patch of yard holds 100 small memories. So when the county surveyor came back with a line and the judge signed off on an order, it should have been a box checked, and that was that. Instead, it became a problem because Linda believed her HOA gospel mattered more than a court's notice. She peeled the court sticker off the fence like she was swatting a fly, and I stepped forward because you don't watch someone rip up a judicial notice and sip your coffee. Those notices are required by the court, I said. She looked at me the way people look when they already have their argument rehearsed. Court or not, she said. This community has rules. That sticker is an eyesore. Her phone was out, of course. I hit record with my thumb. When someone like Linda knows cameras are on, it changes the choreography. That morning set the 3 acts for everything that followed. Act 1, the crack in the street glass normalcy. Act 2, the mounting, petty legalism, and the counterpunch I didn't think I'd have to throw. Act 3, a courtroom small enough to make the judge's pens sound like thunder. After she peeled the sticker, Linda marched to the HOA meeting like she was delivering a crusade, photos in hand. Every line of her face sharpened for effect. She spoke slow and measured. We can't have this. I showed up with a folded copy of the judge's order and a memory card full of video. When Hector, the HOA president, read the order out loud about the county's survey, the posting requirements, you could feel the room tilt. They voted not to find me that night. It wasn't triumph, more a relieved shrug from people who didn't want the heat of a legal wrong on their hands. Linda left with her jaw set. The paperwork was precise, and the complaint had Linda's name on it she'd filed as a board member. That felt personal, like someone who'd decided the law would bend if she filed enough forms. I called a lawyer, Maria, who had a knack for making paperwork feel less like a threat and more like a predictable machine. Document everything, she said. We file a counterclaim if necessary. So I did dates, videos, witness notes, emails. It felt tedious, but when power feels arbitrary, precision is your ally. I'll be honest, part of why it stung was history. That porch light my dad hung wasn't decoration, it was memory. He fixed the storm shutters after a hurricane. He planted the crepe myrtle that blooms every May. And when someone gestures at that history like it's a blemish, it lands differently. That gave my response a shape. It wasn't stubbornness for its own sake. It was a guardedness about roots. Small kindnesses helped keep me steady. Rosa from next door brought over lemon bars and said, in that soft way neighbors do, you did the right thing. Jim, who used to clean the middle school, taped the day the surveyor came on his calendar and later signed a witness statement. Those tiny, ordinary gestures of baked good, a note in a spiral notebook, became evidence in the way that good neighbors become evidence. They were human details against Linda's polished paperwork. Maria talked me through the practical and the human sides. Collect everything, she said. Emails, video, dates, make the mundane visible. She explained how bylaws can be used as blunt instruments when someone feels threatened. People toss rules like nets when they want to catch a behavior they don't like, she said, and I remember thinking how often rules cover for something else. Fear of change, nostalgia, a need for control. Gathering proof was a slow, almost reverent process. I photographed the surveyor's stamp until my fingers cramped. I cataloged videos by time and battery percentage. I wrote down every exchange, even the petty ones, because petty things reveal motive. It felt tedious, but precision became my ally. On the day of the hearing, the courtroom felt smaller than I expected: just a bench, a few chairs, a clock that didn't care. Linda sat with the board and wore the same composed face she used at meetings, but when the judge asked her if she'd read the county order, she stammered. The video of her peeling the notice was small and ordinary, a phone held at arm's length, but there it was, in black and white. Maria walked through the sequence like she was taking inventory of truth. The judge's voice, when he spoke, was precise and quiet. The court issued specific direction, he said. Those notices were required. To remove them is to interfere with an official process. He dismissed the HOA's claims, ordered costs to be covered, and admonished the board for pursuing a matter already settled by the county. Relief after that felt ordinary and sharp, all at once, the kind that lets you breathe through a window you forgot was open. Neighbors nodded in the hallway. Someone gave me a quiet thumbs up. Linda left the courthouse flushed, part embarrassment, part dawning recognition that her authority had limits. Walking back to Willow Ridge that afternoon, the neighborhood looked the same. Mail trucks, kids on bikes, someone mowing. The fence bore the notice again the next day, not for show, but because sometimes rules exist for reasons beyond taste. The fight changed more than the paper on a post. It made the edges of our community visible, the ways people enforce order when they can't control other parts of their life. The aftermath left room for nuance. Linda didn't pack up and leave. She stayed on the board. People still argued about holiday lights and whose hedges needed trimming. But the incident opened a conversation about authority, who wields it, why, and whether a neighborhood should be a place where rules are applied evenly or as a club for the select few. If there's a takeaway I'll share, it's practical. First, document the thing that feels wrong: video, dates, witnesses. Second, don't assume custom outranks law. Sometimes the court is the place to settle a fight when informal channels are weaponized. And third, remember, people's need for control can look a lot like righteousness. I don't pretend to know all of Linda's story. Maybe there's a reason for her exacting streak, but I saw how quickly standards can turn into a tool to make someone else small. Tell me, would you stand your ground or try to keep the peace? Drop it in the comments, share if this hit home, and subscribe for the mailbox story next. I'll see you in the next one.